What is up, everybody? So today we got an updated tier list predictions on the 10.05 healer tier list because we did get to a lot of changes yesterday, and then there's so many changes altogether coming into this patch. So I'm really excited to kind of try some new things out. I'm almost done. I'm almost done leveling all the healers. I've seen Shaman. I'm started my Holy Paladin. But I've had played, and seen a lot of stuff with them. So I'm gonna give you guys my input, my predictions going into this next patch. If you guys do want to, switch up what you're playing. So first up here we have Resto Druid. Okay, but before I go into that, just keep in mind. So the big change that we're gonna see here, and this is pretty game breaker potentially, is the change to the Trinket set bonus for PvP. Main stat nerf. So that means both damage and healing gets nerfed by that, by the way. And then stam increase, so it's going to slow down the meta. Hopefully it's not too much. We will see, because the tier sets, obviously we've seen, if you guys have been watching the EWC, it's a lot faster. Okay, I just hope this is not too slow. That's everyone's concern, though, I think. But I'm sure that they're keeping a close eye on it as well. So with that in mind, we're going to go start off with the Resto Druid. Resto Druid I'm going to put as an A tier. Okay, so Resto Druid, and for all of these, I want to take into consideration the changes that have happened as well as the tier sets, okay? Tier set for Resto Druid, pretty trash. Pretty trash. I don't know if anyone even runs the 4 set or will be running the 4 set. I think they'll run the 2 set because they're like verse haste, verse mastery pieces, so might as well just run it, right? And I don't know even know the 4 set. It's like it just increases like your crits, and like your crit life bloom ticks reduce the cooldown of NS. So I don't know if it's worth the stats. I haven't played too much Resto Druid right now. But when it comes to the changes that they've experienced, they have some pretty substantial nerfs. Verdancy is reduced by 10%. Adaptive Swarm, big nerfs on this. So 5% of periodic effectiveness of periodic effects, as well as Adaptive Swarm itself is nerfed by 10%. Damage and healing. When it comes to PvP, they're technically affected by all this as well. So aggro Resto Druid is like even worse. That was like the worst thing about Druid right now, is it has no offensive pressure. And not that you really even had time to do this in solo shuffle, but maybe in twos, then this is going to be affecting Resto Druid as well. That's a very large nerf for Ferocious Bite, Rip Rake, and when it comes to Resto specifically, Budding Leaves has been nerfed by 20% effectiveness in PvP. This is their big Life Bloom talent. This is what makes Life Bloom Life Bloom. Okay, so this is going to be probably pretty impactful, honestly, especially because most of your healing, because you use the double Life Bloom talent, you're keeping Life Blooms up all the time. Probably going to see a pretty fat nerf onto that. And then Frenzy Regen nerfed by 12%. This is another self-survivability nerf. Frenzy Regen is pretty insane healing, between having the proc of it and then also having the casted versions of it. So I don't know. I think it's still worthy of an A tier for sure, especially if the meta slows down. Druids are always good at drinking. Obviously, this doesn't apply to solo shuffle, but 2s and 3s. You still get the advantage of stealth drinking and being able to sit behind the pillar and do your thing. But the healing throughput's definitely going to be impacted here, and they don't have good tier sets, so I definitely don't think it's worthy of an S tier. I think it's still worth as an A tier. Preservation Evoker, we are definitely going with an S tier on Preservation Evoker. Their tier set is phenomenal. You're going to get instant proc Living Flames that you can use for either damage or healing. And because of the recent changes here, which are the only changes that that Evoker got were to their Dream Projection, and Dream Projection, it can now be purged. And it costs mana. I don't even know what the mana cost was of it, honestly. But it's a nerf overall to it. Then again, so it depends. Like people were complaining that purge is pretty strong into Preservation Evoker, but you at least have the opportunity to like mega hot yourself at once. Like you can shroud 3 times, and on your target you could echo reversion and then echo dream breath. So that could be potentially 4 hots on top of the dream projection. Dream projection was very strong for what it was, though, being an AoE dispel, a undispellable 20-second Omega hot. I think it's a fair change, honestly. So the thing is, though, this will, the tier set will probably help out with the, with people complaining about purging, is you're going to have a lot more instant healing as well on top of that using the Living Flames. So I think it's definitely worthy of an S tier still. Resto Shaman up next here. I'm gonna go with a low A tier. Okay, I don't know. I'm not a super experienced Resto Shaman. It's probably my least played healer so far in Dragonflight. But these nerfs seem like they're going to be pretty impactful. So what they basically did was they nerfed the instant healing, buffed the casted healing. But who the heck has time to cast right now? Maybe you will have time to cast with if the meta slows down with these changes. So healing stream, healing surge buffed by 15%, healing wave buffed by 6%, Flame Shock and Lava Burst damage increased by 20%. And Master of Elements, these are pretty nice damage buffs. But I think they did this to offset the Stormkeeper nerf that they got. So that's gonna have some chunky Lava Bursts, but it's better. I think the Lava Bursts are better than having these one-shot Stormkeepers anyway. So Healing Stream Totem nerfed by 8%. Earth Unleashed, the root, is now breaks on damage and it's only 2 seconds. Thank God. This was so annoying to deal with, like having this cooldown and then as an Evoker, every time you hover, it just pop you down, plop you down. Sucked, but it was a counter. So Riptide nerfed by 5%. Stormkeeper nerfed by 67%. I understand this change, but I also don't understand it in the sense that these instant living flames from the Evoker tier set are literally hitting as hard as Stormkeeper. So I'll just have to make videos on it, one-shotting people. Is what it is. So basically, Riptide and Healing Stream were two of your biggest healing contributors. So that's going to be a pretty nice, pretty gnarly impact on your healing. And then obviously you buffed up the cast's healing, so I think it's definitely going to be knocked down slightly. It's definitely going to be knocked down slightly from where it was currently, but I think it's still going to be a pretty damn good healer. All of the healers in general are very close together, so pretty good job by Blizzard. All right, Holy Paladin, arguably the best healer. We're gonna have to find out how impactful these melee wings changes are. If you guys are not up to date on Holy Paladin, they are kicking ass. Melee wings throughput is so high. It is just like you pop this melee wings every time you do a judgment, a holy or a Crusader strike or an auto attack. It just AoE heals your entire team. So like one judgment can top your entire team if like it crits. It's pretty insane, and what they're doing is they're changing the melee wings uptime cooldown from 2 minutes to 45 seconds. They nerf the duration, but you're gonna be getting so many procs. I started leveling my Holy Paladin. You get so many damn procs, man. Having these procs is going to be very mana efficient for you, and just have so much healing throughput while putting offensive pressure at the same time. It's like a better version of Disc Priest healing, a little bit less damage but more healing. Kind of what Disc Priest should be, though. Honestly, I think Disc Priest is. We'll talk about Disc Priest in a second here. Actually, on that note, let's go Disc Priest. I think Disc Priest. If we're talking about 2v2, 100% an A tier. Possibly an S tier. I think 2v2 Disc Priest may actually be S tier. But I think I'm gonna go with an A tier prediction on Disc Priest. Disc Priest is kind of in the dark, in the shadows. Shadow Covenant. Okay. These damage buffs are ridiculous. Let me tell you, ridiculous. Because they did this back in the beginning of Dragonflight as well. This is something to look at. I'm really kind of interested. I'm very interested in playing Disc Priest. So they buffed Flash Heal and Renew, which is good. That was their biggest flaw: mana and healing throughput. Not enough. They did not need more damage. On the other hand, so we're gonna see what. So and then they also buffed Powered Radiance. So this is for PvE purposes, and they nerfed Ultimate Radiance to 10% instead of 100%. But it still makes it instant. This is the big one though. Sins of the Many increase your damage dealt by 40%. That's a 10% flat damage buff across the board. Like, I'm already hitting 80k freaking Shadow Word deaths. Like, this is gonna be even higher. And like, if you guys saw my other Disc Priest video, in PvP I hit a 191k penance, Dark Penance, with these new buffs on the PTR. You're gonna tell me I got buffed at 10% again? This damage is gonna be unreal. I don't know if it's gonna be enough healing. I think it might be. I think this Flash Heal change might be good enough, because if you just fall behind, you could just spam some Flash Heals. Hopefully you can recover off of that, because the Atonement healing and the Radiance healing is like so But I think for that reason, I'm gonna put it. My guess prediction gonna be put on an A tier. I think in twos, I think it's hands down. I think it's an S tier comp in twos, but I'm gonna keep it behind it, just because I'm gonna keep it behind Shaman. Shaman cooldowns are just too good. Okay, and then next up we have Holy Priest. I'm gonna put Holy Priest. I'm gonna put these are close. All right, I know we got different tiers here, but I think all these healers are very close. Holy Priest, I don't really know yet. It's kind of up in the air whether it's a low A or a B tier. I'm gonna put a B just to kind of give ourselves some diversity here on the tiers. But the thing with Holy Priest that might be at least a little good is your Angel form, and with the damage getting higher. You might be able to. Well, actually, this is going to change. I was saying if we were projecting at the current rate, Holy Priest is not that bad because you can go in the Angel form. You have Guardian, some really big life-saving heals, but you don't have the throughput. That's always the problem of it. And I think if we do shift the meta slower again, I think Holy Priest goes back down again because again the throughput's just not there. Doesn't have the craziest amount of chastise isn't really worth it for a 1 second, 2 second CC. I think Holy Priest may still be a thing in Rogue Mage, but at that point, why not just play Holy Paladin or if Disc Priest damage just becomes that high, you might as well just play Disc Priest, right? So I want to put it on the B tier for that. Mistweaver. So Mistweaver. Before I put this on here, let's take a peek at the change. So Holy Priest did not have any recent changes here. When it comes to Mistweaver, okay, so Lesson to Prepare. This is one of the new Shyland's gift abilities for fist waving. Let me tell you, fist waving, borderline S tier. I think if you play with a perfect comp, like play with a rogue or a feral, I think fist waving might be an S tier in twos. Come to this next patch. It's actually kind of insane. But I'm just going to go with Mistweaver in general. So Mistweaver got mana regen decrease, so it was a little bit of a mana regen buff. Enveloping Mist buffed by 25% in PvP. This was in I think a reversion at some point. And then Chrysalis, this change wasn't ever put in yet. It was just reverted, so there's basically no change to Chrysalis. It was they were nerfing it, now they unnerfed it. Enveloping Mist though, 25% with like Mist Wrap and some of the other talents. You might be able to do some pretty good stuff here. Oh, I forgot to talk about this in Holy Paladin, man. They got their wall buffed, flash shield buff, consecration buff. Ah, shit, my bad. Well, Holy Paladin even better. But anyway, okay, back to Mistweaver. I think Mistweaver with the. I'm gonna put it high B. I just don't want to stack. I don't want to stack. It's arguably an A tier as well. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it low A tier. Just because you have the new Shyland's gift, which is actually a pretty massive heal. The thing is, it's just not instant. That's a big problem that Mistweaver has, is they don't have big instant heals. You have Revival, you have Cocoon, and that's it. So if you come at a CC when you don't have any of that stuff, you just fall behind tremendously. So we'll go with an A tier on this one. I think Mistweaver is still gonna be a pretty good pick. And you know what? And also what balances it out is fist waving, man. Fist waving in twos, forget about it. There is a ridiculous amount of buffs with this. It is definitely an A tier, borderline S tier with certain comps with fist weaving. If you guys are interested in that type of game play style. So there we go. There's our updated tier list for 10.05 predictions. May not become true. Again, my opinion. Feel free to disagree. Let me know in the comments. Peace out. See you in the next one.